The racing season is just around the corner, so it is time, without any further holdups, to talk about season previews. What better way to start than with the World of Outlaws and the High Limit Sprint Car Series? How's it going, everybody? My name's Tyler Isley here with Racing Pulse. Welcome back. And today is the day where we start talking about preseason predictions and just look aheads to the 2024 seasons within every series: NASCAR, IndyCar, World of Outlaws, High Limit, USAC. I'm not going to be talking too much about USAC today. I am going to strictly stick within the World of Outlaws and High Limit Sprint Car Series. Now, in doing so, I'm going to kind of split them into two, and then I'm going to kind of talk about them all together and what I expect about the season. So, without any further interruptions, let's go ahead and get right into it, starting with the World of Outlaws. All right, so we begin talking about the World of Outlaws, and I'm going to start with just a quick little kind of a rule update, but it's not really an update. It's more so of a test. They are doing a wicker bill test, and what they're going to be doing for that is the goal of this is to try to reduce dirty air within the racing, trying to make the on-track product better. I don't know how much it's going to work. I don't know how much that's going to have anything to do or help with the racing, but it's something they're going to try, and what better place to try it than the Volusia down in Florida in week 1, where they're going to run a 1-inch wicker bill. Again, that's reducing down from 2 inches to 1. It's going to be interesting to see what this does and what impact it has on the racing. I've heard a lot of guys saying that it doesn't, they don't really think it's going to do a whole lot. It's not going to be what they're expecting the outcome to be. So it makes me all the more curious to see exactly what that looks like. But with that said, time to get into the actual previews. And in doing that, I'm going to talk about the rosters real quick. Now, I'm going to go through the rosters for both series right here, right now. And then I'll go through it once again for the High Limit Series when I get into that. But starting with the World of Outlaws Series, they have Logan Schuchart driving for Shark Racing in the 1S. They're having a split effort. Jacob Allen's going to be at the High Limit Series races. David Gravel for Big Game Motorsports. Brock Zierfoss in the 3Z. He returns to the World of Outlaws. He also returns with a brand new paint scheme, and it's weird because there's no orange or anything on his car. It's actually blue, so that's going to be really interesting and a tough one for me to get used to. I'm used to him having a lot of orange on the car. We got Bill Rose coming back in the 6. Landon Crawley takes over in the 7S for Sides Motorsports. That one will be interesting. Obviously, Robbie Price drove this car last year, had a lot of success with it for given the equipment. Landon Crawley's going to step in as a Rookie of the Year contender, and we're going to see exactly what he's got from the very beginning. We move on from there, and we get Donnie Schatz in the 15. 10-time champ, reigning Kings Royal champion. Going to be interesting to see what he brings to the table. On top of Donnie Schatz, we have Sheldon Hodenshield. He's going to return once again with Stenhouse Jr. Marshall Racing in the 17. I'm looking forward to what I think could be a really big year for him, and obviously this could feel kind of like a 1995 situation where he may finish second in the standings, much like his dad did in 1999 or 1995. Sorry. That year, Jack finished second to Dave Blaney in the World of Outlaw standings. Sheldon Hodenshield could have a very good, a top 3 points effort, but the biggest thing that's going to kind of hang over the head is where were all the big guys? Where were all the big names? Obviously, we got, Brad Sweet full-time. He moved over, which is obviously the biggest name that's leaving the World of Outlaws scene right now. But they're still going to be those. Obviously, 1995, Steve Kenzer was dabbling in NASCAR. Sammy Swindell didn't run a full-time season. So it'll be interesting what kind of year Sheldon Hodenshield can have with the lack of Brad Sweet. I think that's the big thing is I've noticed a lot of places that Sheldon ran really good at. Those are the places that Brad Sweet had a lot of his success, and Brad Sweet was able to beat him straight up as the better driver, better equipment, whatever you may say. It seems like those tracks then kind of fall into Sheldon's hands a little bit this year. And if they can put things together, I think they can have a really good points showing. And, we'll get into a little bit of that later. Bill Baylog makes his full-time debut with the World of Outlaws. He's running for Rookie of the Year this year in the 17B. Always excited to see Bill Baylog. He's one of my favorite, just most underrated drivers. I like what he brings to the table for the series, but I don't know what his success level would be. Gio Scelzi's a guy that I expect to have a big year. He's coming back for a second full-time year, if I'm not mistaken, in the 18. Really excited to see what they are able to do. They've also got, I think, arguably, it's my favorite paint scheme so far that's been released preseason. It's a beautiful car. Really excited to see what Gio Scelzi and company can do this year. Noah Gass returns to the series. He's slowly but steadily improving. I could see him competing for a win or two this year. I don't think he gets a win this year, but I could see him competing and being in position to do it if he needed to. Then we got Carson Macedo. I think he's going to be a championship favorite along with David Gravel. I think those are the two favorites, and then Donnie Schatz, of course, and then he gets the Schuhart, Hodenshield, and even Scelzi, I would say, but Carson Macedo, definitely a big-time threat for the championship in 2024. And then lastly, this is as of January 24th, by the way. That's the most recent update I've been able to see, is that Buddy Kofoid is making a Rookie of the Year run with Roth Motorsports in the 83. It's the same car as the 83 Junior last year, just since they are split between the two series. It's just going to be the Roth 83. And I think Buddy's going to have a very impressive year. I'll be very honest and just get right into my predictions and say that I think Buddy Kofoid's going to win Rookie of the Year. Now, my predictions are going to go between bold and just common sense. Common sense, Buddy Kofoid of the rookies right now. Buddy Kofoid's going to be the Rookie of the Year in 2024. I think he might even battle for the championship if things go the way they need to. But within those predictions, I'm going to also say that for number 2, even though I have it listed as number 1 on my list, number 2 is that the championship battle will be settled on the final weekend in Charlotte here in 2024. Now, there's any combination of guys that it could come down to, but I'm going to tell you guys the guys that I think are going to be in it when we get there. I think it's going to be Schuhart. I think Gravel is going to have possibility. I think Gravel's probably going to be the points leader if all goes according to the way it's gone in the last few years. Carson Macedo is probably going to be in that conversation as well. Sheldon Hodenshield, Gio Scelzi, Donnie Schatz. I can't believe I took that long to get Donnie's name out there. It's going to be a really interesting battle, but I think just because there's not a lot of drivers going with the World of Outlaws this year doesn't mean that this isn't a quality field, at least with the full-time guys. The points battle is going to be unbelievable. And I think there's 9 guys that can at least get a win this season. And that's another one of my predictions. I think there will be 9 full-time drivers on this list that get a win in 2024. My predictions specifically are Logan Schuhart, David Gravel. I think Zierfoss gets one. I think Donnie Schatz, Sheldon Hodenshield, Bill Baylog, Gio Scelzi, Carson Macedo, Buddy Kofoid. I may have named 10 there. If I were to take anybody off, I think Zierfoss would be the one that doesn't get the win out of those guys. But I'm going to say there's at least 9 in 2024. My other 2 predictions, I think that Gio Scelzi is going to get a top 3 in the series points. It's just, it feels like he's really in a position and maturing constantly to a point where I think that he's going to have his best year to date in any series, in any car. And it just feels like he's going to be in one of those guys that's in contention in Charlotte when it comes down to the end of the season. Then my last prediction, I'll save, I think, the boldest prediction I have for last. And that's that Sheldon Hodenshield will set a new career high mark for wins in a season. Now, he just set this back in 2022 I believe he had 9 wins in 2022, if I'm not mistaken. And I think he's going to eclipse that. I think he might get to 10 wins. Now, don't get me wrong. That does not mean I think he's going to win the championship. I went down that road a couple years ago, picked him to win the 2022 title. He didn't win it. And he wasn't even close. He had arguably the worst year of his career. But I think he's going to set a win total mark for a season here in 2024. So if he's not my championship pick, Gio's not my championship pick, Buddy's not my championship pick, well, who is? Again, I've already named off the guys who I think have legitimate possibility to be champions in this series in 2024. But the guy that I'm going with is probably the most obvious. It's the guy who's been in the battle for the last 3 years with Brad Sweet, and that's David Gravel. Really, ever since he's gotten in this big game, Motorsports number 2, it's been full steam ahead for him, his career, and genuinely, I genuinely believe that this is his year, and he's going to be the one to take over the reins and get the first championship since Brad Sweet has started his 5-year win streak. Again, Brad Sweet's not here to defend that title, but I don't think he clearly didn't want to. He's already owns the High Limit Series. So I'm just really interested to see. I don't think it starts a new win streak. I think that's kind of been what we've seen with the World of Outlaws over the last handful of years as guys go on streaks. And, you know, Donnie Schatz went on a couple 3 to 5 championship win streaks, only to be broken up by Jason Myers and Darren Pittman. You go back, and even Steve Kinzer and Sammy Swindell kind of rotated, but it was mostly Steve Kinzer just tearing things apart for the majority of his career. So I think this is kind of a turning point in the series where we don't really see repeat champions going forward. And I think part of that's to do with this schedule is a little bit different than it's been in the past. And at some point, I will get into those changes. I'm not going to do that here. This is more so just a driver and a preview for talking about the drivers and cars. But at some point, I'll probably get into something where we kind of discuss the racetracks and the bigger changes. Because I know they're going, I can't name the track off the top of my head, but they're going to Kentucky for the first time in a while. It's going to be really fun to see what the World of Outlaws series looks like now. And I'd like to see how this progresses over the next 3 to 5 years, battling with High Limit to get these big money shows. But with all that said, let's go ahead and shift gears and get over into the High Limit series. I think that this is going to be, I think this is probably the series that everybody's wanting to watch in terms of entertainment value, guys that are showing up, names that are showing up weekly. And let's go ahead and read through this entire list so far. Again, this is what I have as of January 24th. We got Brenham Crouch in the 1. Jacob Allen's going to be in the 1A. Cap Henry in the 2MD. But he's only going to be a weekly series participant. He and Kyle Larson currently are the only guys that I have as full-time weekly series only drivers. We got Spencer Basin in the 5, Tyler Cordy in the 7 BC, Corey Eliason in the 8 for RSR, Casey Kane in the 9, Parker Price Miller in his family-owned 9P, Justin Peck in the 13, Corey Day in the 14 and 14 BC, respectively. I think that probably flips between the regular series and the weekly series. Brent Marks will be in the 19, Rico Abreu in the 24, Zeb Wise in the 26, Connor Morrell in the 28, Brad Sweet in the 49, Chris Wyndham 55, Kyle Larson again, he'll be in the 57 for the weekly series, James McFadden in the 83 for Ross Motorsports, and then Tanner Thorson rounds out what I have so far in the 88. Super excited to see what these guys are able to do. This is going to be, again, it's a heavy hitting field, and it brings a lot of money to the table. This is going to be, I think this is the higher paying series this year, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't know that for certain. I would have to do a little bit more research on it, but I do believe that the High Limit Series is the higher paying series in 2024. But with that, let's go ahead and talk about our 5 predictions for the High Limit Series overall. I'm not talking weekly and championship, like weekly and weekend championship. I'm talking about the entirety of High Limit Racing. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start out with my boldest prediction going into the 2024 season, and that is that I think Casey Kane will win a race this year. He got really competitive at the middle to end point of last year. He just wasn't able to finish the show. It felt like there was a setup thing missing. Just a slight tweak to a setup going into the feature. He stays up front and stays in contention to win. It may be a lucky win. It may not. Who knows? But we know he can drive. He was able to go out and win a race in one of his first races back at Houston's last year. And it wasn't a terrible field. It wasn't a great field, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't a terrible field either. He's been competitive at a lot of places. Very, very underrated. Some may say I'm overrating him, but I'm going to say I think he's a little underrated. And what he's truly capable of doing, it just hasn't come to fruition yet. So I'm thinking big things for Casey Kane, and I'm probably going to die on this hill for the next couple of years if he retires or until I just decide to go a different direction. But staying on the topic of winning races, and I did this for the World of Outlaws, so I'm going to do this here again. I'm going to say that this time, though, there will be 10 plus different full-time winners in 2024. I'm not going to say greater than 10, but I'm going to set the mark at 10, but I'm going to say it may go over 10 as well. This is like I said, a very star-studded field. Guys can go out and win on any given night. It's going to be extremely competitive. I'm really looking forward to it. If Casey Kane and 10 different winners wasn't bold enough, I think the championship battle is going to be decided on the final night of racing action in 2024 for the High Limit Racing Series. Now, understand that their final night of action is at Texas Motor Speedway in October. And I'm super excited. 1, I love the dirt track at Texas. 2, I think it's a great place for a championship. And 3, if this prediction comes to fruition, it could be one of the best races in sprint car history. Really looking forward to seeing what that brings to the table. Again, October's 10 months away. Well, maybe 9 months away. But it could be a championship battle for the ages in sprint car racing. Now, these next 2 are going to seem contradictory, but I think they'll make sense when I get through it. Brent Marks is going to have the most wins of anybody on this tour. I think he's the fastest all-around driver at every single racetrack. I think he's going to be able to capture the most wins. Now, I don't know if that win number is going to be 5. I don't know if that win number is going to approach 10. I don't think it gets over 10. I don't think anybody gets over 10 wins this season. If anybody does, I'd be genuinely surprised. I mean, somebody's kind of dominating. This is only a 60 race schedule, but I think the number is going to be 5 or 6, and I think Brent Marks is going to be the one to get it. On top of that, my final prediction, and this is a sprint car wide prediction. I think Rico Abreu is going to be the highest earner in 2024. I think he's going to earn the most money across all series in 2024, whether it's winning the Knoxville Nationals, winning Eldora, the Kings Royal. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I think that he's going to be the top man when it comes to bringing in the money in 2024. And let's just piggyback off of that with saying that I'm taking Rico Abreu to win the championship in the High Limit Sprint Car Series. He has been the most consistent, I think, throughout the last couple of years. He was battling mostly with Kyle Larson last year. I just have this feeling that it's going to be him. And I'm looking over the points championship, and he was second. He lost it by 7 points to Kyle Larson. And those two were head and shoulders above the rest. I am super excited for Rico Abreu this year. I think he's going to be one of the best. If I were to take a pick on the championship battle being decided, and who all is going to be in competition for it, I'll say Rico, Brent, Brad Sweet, and I think I'll leave it there. I think I'll leave it with those few. Anyways, that'll wrap it up for us for this video. This has been the World of Outlaws and High Limit Series 2024 season preview. Super excited. Let me know what you guys think down below. Leave a comment down below what your championship predictions are, maybe some bold predictions for the season. I will try to find some time. Maybe I'll throw them into my Thursday episode, and I'll throw some of my favorites in the from the comment section in that next video. Looking very forward to this season. Dirt racing is obviously my favorite. I think I've kind of made that pretty clear. So I'm really looking forward to it. A lot of changes, a lot of new things happening, but I think it's all for the better of sprint car racing, of racing as a whole throughout the entire world. So it's all upwards from here. So really looking forward to 2024. Next video is going to be the NASCAR season preview. I'm going to have that out on Wednesday, I believe. I'm not sure what the Tuesday video is going to be yet. But the NASCAR video will be the next one that you see in terms of season previews. Again, appreciate you guys tuning in. Leave a like, comment, subscribe if you're brand new. I'm going to be posting videos like this Monday through Thursday every single week. So I'm super excited to continue this with you guys. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.